Hello everyone, this is Jam764 and, well, I found a bit of a problem with my current recording setup. As you know, YouTube clearly has raised their frames per minute, frames per second limit, or FPS, up to 60 frames per second, which is pretty standard for most games and other applications. So you can really get away with 30, but who likes 30? Anyway, game's not working. By the way, I'm using an entirely different soundtrack just because I feel like it. Mainly because I'm not. That's not good. Oh well, I'll just let it sit here and hope that it starts working again, because I remember having during the beta where all the option menus died. He went offline for time. Though it shouldn't be. Yeah, there's something wrong with something. It's weird. I mean, it'll work eventually. Just I don't know why it stopped working, because I'm just using it. Anyway, you guys can probably see up in the left-hand corner. That is my there we go. That is my yeah. See, there the game goes. What am I trying to say? Oh yeah, that's my task manager, which is, by the way, there's a 0.1 professional 64-bit version. So yeah. But anyway, you can see like all the stats of my PC, which currently is the Phenom. And as you can see, when recording with the Phenom, it just dies, more or less. However, that's what I would like to talk about. For whatever weird reason, my i7, it plays the game like perfectly. I mean, right now, you see how it's loading? The i7 would have loaded by now. That's how insanely quick it is. However, when recording, it dies. Just straight up dies. And, oh, by the way, this is being recorded 60 frames per second. But that's just it. The frame rate just... I don't know what happens. I mean, right now, the game and the recording should be going at 60. And here's the weird thing about my Phenom. The game runs worse than the actual recording, which is a bit odd if you ask me, because right now we're getting 60 frames per second in the video, but the game's getting like maybe 15 or 20, and that is all due to the processor. I mean, just look at it, 92%, well, like average of 90% right now, just doesn't stand a chance. But, I mean, it runs smoothly as far as recording goes. I mean, frame rate is consistently 60. Same goes for the bit rate, though. Hardly bit rate. And that's just it. It's locked at like 60 frames per second. It doesn't lose any frames whatsoever. My i7, on the other hand, has the exact opposite issue. It will run the game at its full, or almost full 60. I mean, it does lower a little bit due to the graphics card being entirely different. Because this is a Phenom 2 955 Black Edition. Used to overclock it, but then something happened, so I had to stop. But running at stock speed with a with a Radeon 7850 in it, which is a pretty powerful card. And by the way, for those guys who didn't know, I actually built this Play Subsidy on max settings when it came out. So the graphics card, entirely different. But yeah, the 7850, which by standards is a really powerful card, but clearly has been overtaken by other newer ones. But yeah, and as you can see, 12 gigs RAM, more than enough. And even with the hard drive just like slaving away, which by the way, I'm using the I, J, K, and L drive, which is one single hard drive edition. And I have no idea what's going on with drive Q, but I shouldn't be using it at all, because that's an external drive that just stores stuff. I don't know what's going on with it. But as you can see, everything is like a constant rate. And that's what I don't get. The i7, on the other hand, well, I'm going to have to show it to you, but I'll just lay out its specs. An i7 4790, which is an absolutely superb processor. I mean, see how mine's currently going at almost max? The highest I've ever seen it go is maybe like 30%. That's recording, playing a far more heavily limited map than and at the same resolution. It just doesn't care, processing wise. The graphics card, on the other hand, does care, because it is a GeForce 260. Actually, it's a very unique NVIDIA GeForce 260. Actually, I think it's a GTS or GTX, one of those. I always forget. And it's the 216 core edition, which is automatically, I think, like 10 to 12% better than the original 260. And then it's the overclocked version of the 216 core version, which gives it an additional 12 or so percent to its performance. So it's actually about 24-25% better than the original 260. And yeah, it does have a very weird RAM count though. It's not even a gig. I mean, it's a very old card by today's, like 08, something like that. But I mean, it is very powerful, but it is far weaker than the one I'm using. And it has, unlike this card, which, actually I forgot how much RAM this has. 1 second. Processor dying at the rate. Let's see. It has like 4 gigs on this card right now. Of course, it can use up to 8 to have so much 64-bit. But I mean, it barely uses one card right that. But yeah. But the GeForce, on the other hand, only has like 896 megabytes of RAM, of graphics RAM for it by default. It's a very peculiar card, because most cards at the time either had 512 or 1 entire gig. I mean, some obviously had more, but those were like super high end, which clearly I don't have it, or I would be using it. Right. And also, it only has like DirectX 10. For some weird reason, I can only play DirectX 9 on it, because whenever it tries 10, it dies. So much for Civilization 5. But, yeah. And that's what I don't understand. I mean, comparing it to the max requirements for this game, I mean, clearly when not recording, they just obliterate any issue, like frame rate. I mean, they do not lag whatsoever. Recording, however, there is a huge difference. And I'm gonna have to edit this video just to show it. But basically, for whatever stupid reason, I cannot get out of maybe 20 frames per second on the i7. Oh, and one more thing I forgot to mention about the 260. It can't run the game on like maximum settings. I have no idea why, but I mean, like, these graphic settings that you can change in-game, all those can be maxed out. To be honest, I hate HDR lighting. I keep forgetting to turn it on. Well, no. For the Phenom, I use HDR lighting. because the lighting values are different between the i7. So yeah, let me turn it back on. But I just don't get it. I mean, I get the GeForce 260 dying under pressure. No, it just doesn't have the RAM for the textures and colors. Which, by the way, this is completely maxed out. All the settings in the main menu for graphics just completely maxed out on the Phenom. The i7, on the other hand, can play with maxed out settings, except for color depth and texture being on high. They have to be on low, or the game just dies. I mean, the card just doesn't have the memory. I mean, maybe if it had a gig, it could do it on board, but I just can't crank up the texture or color. I mean, it looks perfectly fine, don't get me wrong. But see, like how the grass and everything looks now? Yeah, the quality is a lot lower on the i7. At least for the texture. I mean, the polygons and everything, they're still the same sharpness. So, I think it actually runs in maybe EX9 mode. And there is a, if you guys search up DirectX 9 versus 10 versus 11, there's a pretty huge difference between how those process depending on how the game's set up. And I think this can use up to 11. Yeah, there's obviously going to be some different. But I don't know why. It just will not let me get past 20 frames a second. And the average frame rate actually for the i7 when recording, at least in video, is like 17. But the game's running at its full 60. Which, I just don't get it. It's like it's purposely dropping frames. But that's just it. I look at the drop frame rate, like right now, it's still going at 60, even though y'all might not believe it. But it is literally going at 60 right now. And the i7 just... It's just locked at 20. It will literally go up to 20, stop there, and the drop frame rate will not say anything. Despite having the exact same settings in place for, well, the Phenom. It's 60. So it's recording at 60, but it's actually processing at 20, if you guys understand. And I'll show you with the exact same map what the gigantic difference is between what we're doing now. So just keep in mind how this train's moving now, right? And I'll get back to y'all on the i7. Here we go.